10 most expensive American muscle cars ever sold at auction. American muscle cars ruled the country throughout the 1960s and 1970s. Many people admired these brash, powerful vehicles. The muscle car was every car enthusiast's ideal vehicle, whether it was used for street racing or just cruising the drive-in. And despite the passage of time, people's enthusiasm for muscle cars has not diminished. The only thing that has changed is the cost of these enduring automobiles. Most automobiles lose value as they become older, but a select few of these historic cars are valued extremely highly and can fetch a hefty price at auction. Entry into the 10 most expensive muscle cars club starts well over $1 million, making it a somewhat elite group. Let's see how much these valuable vintage items cost. Number 10, the 1965 Shelby Cobra Roadster CSX, sold at $1.595 million. This vehicle was initially produced in the UK, but in September 1961, Carroll Shelby of Ford Motor Company requested AC Motors if they could construct a frame for a V8 engine so that Ford could rival the Corvette. The 3.6L lightweight, thin-wall cast small block engine, which was originally designed at the Windsor engine facility, underwent numerous changes before it was finished, including stronger rear outboard brakes to decrease cost and handle the power. The small block engine's capacity was raised to 4.3L in 1962, after which road testing started. 2015 Scottsdale auction held by Barrett Jackson saw this roadster sell for $1.595 million. Number 9, the 1971 Hemi Cuda convertible, sold at $2.2 million. Only 11 cars of that model year were made, and one of them sold for $2.2 million in 2007 at a Barrett Jackson auto auction. While it may seem like a lot of money, it was really $1 or $2 million less than what one might typically anticipate to pay for a well-kept 1971 Hemi Cuda convertible. Although almost else about this car was excellent, it had one significant flaw: the engine wasn't the one that had been put in on the manufacturing line. However, it did come with the right Chrysler 426 Hemi from 1971, making this sale the most money ever spent on a muscle car with mismatched numbers. Number 8, the 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda convertible, sold at $2.5 million. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, convertibles weren't as common, making the 1970 and 1971 Cuda convertibles some extremely unique automobiles. Only 14 vehicles were made for the 1970 model year, and this particular beast was one of 9 to have the unique Hemi A727 Torqueflite 3-speed automatic transmission and a dual quad 4-6 HP Hemi V8 engine. Fun fact, John Hurlitz, who, at 27 years old, is one of the key designers behind this particular car's appearance, leased this vehicle personally through his employer. The unique muscle automobile had several owners, including Brett Torino and Darrell Davis, the chairman of Chrysler Finance. The amazing piece of Mopar history was meticulously restored to its original brilliance by Cummins Restorations in 2002, and it was subsequently auctioned off for an astounding $5 million in 2015 at Mecca Monterey. Number 7, the 1950 Ford Pontiac Bonneville Special Motorama concept car, sold at $3.08 million. In order to draw a younger audience to showrooms in the beginning of the 1950s, GM desperately tried to portray its Pontiac brand as exciting and sporty. Harley Earl tasked designers Homer Lagasse and Paul Gilland with creating a car worthy of the Bonneville name, one that would compete with the rival Chevrolet Corvette. Harley Earl is said to have been inspired by the vehicles competing for speed records on Utah's Bonneville Salt Flats. The Pontiac Bonneville Special Concept, of which only 2 were ever produced, was the outcome. The Pontiac Bonneville Special Concept was a low-slung sports car with a fiberglass body, much like the production Chevrolet Corvette on which it was based. But unlike the first Corvette, the Pontiac concept car had a V8 engine under its tall hood and an enclosed bubble cockpit with flip-up side windows. Even though the 4-speed hydromatic transmission was Pontiac's most potent engine to date, the 230 HP, 268 cubic inch cylinder was never released on the market. At Barrett, the 35th Jackson's anniversary Scottsdale auction, it fetched $3.08 million in 2006. Number 6, the 1967 L88 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray convertible sold at $3.2 million. One of the most recognizable American muscle vehicles and a favorite of many motorheads is the Chevy Corvette. Few Corvettes have ever cost as much as this 1967 L88, despite the fact that the car's famous Stingray design and potent performance have helped it retain its worth over time. There were 20 L88s produced in that year. Chevrolet kept the L88 trim level a secret, neither promoting it to the general public nor to its dealers. Because of the 430 HP engine, it is understandable why the majority of those cars were secretly sold to racing teams. This particular convertible has the race slips to verify that it was modified and operated as a drag racer up until 1970. It has subsequently been restored to stock L88 specifications, but it still has all of its recognizable features. Its exterior's blacked on red paint has been painstakingly restored, the fuel warning notice is still fastened to the center console, and it boasts a powerful rock crusher 4-speed manual transmission. Number 5, the 1971 Hemi Cuda convertible, sold at $3.5 million. This 1971 convertible, which remarkably resembles the 71 Cuda convertible that sold for the $2 million, is especially sought after since it is the only surviving convertible that has all of its original matching number parts. It is the only Hemi Cuda in existence with the 4-speed manual transmission and the original Hurst shifter, and it still has its original Hemi for the 6V8 engine. Only 11 of them have ever been made, and 1971 also saw the lowest number of Hemi convertibles ever constructed. This Cuda, known as the Holy Grail of muscle cars, boasts a 6-barrel carburetor, an improved suspension, and a 440 Hemi engine. The first person to own it was the well-known Southwest cartoonist Russ Meyer. When a narcotics raid resulted in its seizure, Meyer sold it to a man in Oregon for $250,000. Nevertheless, it was later bought at auction for $405,000. Julius Stoyer later restored the automobile to its former grandeur, including the original B5 bright blue color scheme with blue paint, a black top, and matching blue seats. The most expensive Chrysler ever sold, it fetched a stunning $3.5 million at the Seattle Mecum car auction in 2014. Number 4, the 1967 Corvette L88S Coupe, sold at $3.85 million. Even though this L88's convertible cousin had more race experience than this one does, it is still one of the most sought-after Corvettes ever made. This vehicle was the only one of the 2 L88 Corvettes built for the 1967 model year to have a matching red-on-red paint scheme. This vehicle was equipped for high-performance drag racing with a heavy-duty suspension, a 430 HP engine, and a transmission calibrated for maximum performance on the quarter-mile. However, despite its exorbitant price, this car provided few personal comforts. It lacked a radio, a heater, and air conditioning. Its engine is purposefully undervalued as well, as independent tests show that it produces more than 560 HP. The automobile was able to surpass the sales record set by its convertible cousin thanks to the support of the NCRS National Corvette Restorers Society. Despite the fact that both cars were given regional NCRS Top Flight Awards, this car outperformed the convertible by receiving both the Duntov Mark of Excellence Award and a National Top Flight Award. It was then sold to a wealthy buyer at the Barrett-Jackson Scottsdale auction in 2014 for a hefty $3.85 million. Number 3, the 1966 Shelby Cobra 427 Super Snake, sold at $5,115,000. There are only the Super Snakes that were ever made, and this CSX 3015 is the only one that is still alive, making it the rarest Cobra that is known to exist. Thanks to its twin supercharged for 127 volts 8, it has about 1000 HP. Carroll Shelby created this monstrosity for himself in order to test its actual top speed. This car has undergone thorough inspections, including comparisons with other competition Cobras, where it was found to be a true competition roadster with its original body and aluminum Super Snake hood intact. After removing the coats of paint, Steve Davis discovered the vehicle's original bright Guardsman blue. It still has the original 1965 competition Girlinger and BR calipers that were date-coded. Surprisingly, the car still contains its original 1965 engine block with the date code 5M17, which was installed on December 17, 1965, as well as its original 427 competition 377 rear end oil cooler, and pumps. Even the original chrome side pipes and headers are still present. In fact, it was decided to renew this CSX 3015 rather than restore it because it is thought to be so period original. It's understandable why this infant fetched $5.115 million at the Scottsdale, Arizona, Barrett at Jackson auction. Number 2, the 1960 Ford GT40 prototype, sold at $7 million. This GT40, which Henry Ford entered for the first time in Le Mans, has been raced historically in venues like Le Mans, Sebring, Daytona, Nassau, and Monza by drivers like Bruce McLaren, Bob Bondurant, Phil Hill, and Chris Amon. Even the first GT40 to be shipped to Shelby American for development is rumored to be this one. A lightweight steel monocoque chassis with AA arm suspension makes up the foundation of the design. Its 4.2L, all-aluminum engine produces 350 horsepower and is equipped with a Collodi gearbox. Prior to its final restoration by Paul Lanzani in 2010 and subsequent $7 million sale at the Houston Mecum auction in 2014, Ford showed this rare beauty at the Detroit Auto Show for a number of years. And number 1, the 1960 Shelby Cobra CSX 2000, sold at $13.75 million. In the annals of the history of American muscle cars, the Shelby Cobra has a long and famous reputation. For many muscle car enthusiasts, having a classic Shelby Cobra is the stuff of dreams due to its striking appearance and potent performance. The first Cobra is far more expensive than any other original, yet any original is going to be worth a ton of money. A historic $13.75 million was paid for the chassis CSX 2000 at a Monterey, California auction, a final price of $12.5 million plus auction costs. More than merely being the first Cobra put together by Carroll Shelby and his team, this one is unique. Within its initial year of life, it was painted numerous different colors as it was transported from event to event to give the impression that production had begun. Even though it hadn't, the trick was successful. It eventually turned the stunning color of blue you see today, and remarkably, it has never been repaired, which is very observable with dents and dings throughout the body and mismatched paint colors hiding in layers all over the chassis. It became the most expensive American automobile ever sold despite these drawbacks.